All right, there's a lot of political news happening in the world right now. Joining us live this evening, Republican strategist Jamie Roe and Democratic strategist Beverly Watt. Thank you both for being here
Thank you
this
for having us.
evening. Jamie, we'll begin with you with some more local news to Michigan. We know that Elle Myers reported earlier in the show that Dana Nessel is charging former House Speaker Lee Chatfield with, among many things, stealing money from a nonprofit to fund a lavish lifestyle. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, of course, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but I think what was brought forward today was incredible, in my opinion. I cannot imagine an office holder spending $132,000 out of a social welfare C4 to pay your personal credit card bills. That is just something that makes the entire system look bad if it's proven true. And it's shameful, and it rightfully deserves the charges that were brought if what the Attorney General alleges is true. I'm certainly not going to defend that type of activity, and he'll get his day in court, and my guess is he's going to face some stern justice at the end of it all.
Like Meredith said, quite a few charges in there. Beverly, comes with up to 20 years in prison. Your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, again, just like Jamie said, innocent until proven guilty. However, whenever you have such charges brought, especially when it's a misappropriation of funds, especially when you're trying to personally take, funds for yourself and take it away from nonprofit, I think this is a dark, a dark spot on the whole democratic process, all of the elected officials, because again, you're going to play right into individuals who do not want to engage in this process because they think most of everyone, whether you're Democrat or Republican, is not playing fair.
Yeah, what does this do to the confidence of voters to even hear allegations like this?
Well, I think, and I hate to say this, sometimes I think the American public is getting numb to this because we hear it all the time over and over again. So I think it just disengages people and make them more of an independent or say, I'm not going to vote. However, I do feel energized that people still believe in democracy in the process and separate that and know that this is not democracy, and the election and everything is very important. You're looking at an individual with a character flaw whenever they're doing something like this dishonest. Separate it and take it into two parts. This is someone who doesn't have, allegedly, a good character flaw.
And if we're talking about Chatfield, let's talk about the sexual assault allegations that were brought by his sister-in-law, saying this started when she was underage, but Nessel said they don't have enough evidence for this. Are you surprised by that?
It's interesting. One thing, Dana Nessel, when she was the Attorney General during Lee Chatfield's entire time as Speaker of the House, and they had a very good relationship. In fact, when he was fired from a job shortly after he left office, Dana Nessel was one of the people who defended him and came to his defense, saying that he was the Republican that she worked best with during her first 2 years as Attorney General. I don't know the evidence behind the sexual assault allegations. I trust that Attorney General Nessel's office did their due diligence on it. So I mean, I really don't know what to add on that. It's the whole sordid affair is sort of shameful on the process of how Lansing operated, and the idea of having an affair with your sister-in-law is just unbelievable to me. I mean, I cannot imagine that. I've worked in politics for a great many years, and I've worked with some great public officials. It just doesn't seem like Lee Chatfield was one of them. So hopefully we can move on from this, and hopefully justice can be served in the right manner in this case.
It's unfortunate, especially when you're talking beyond funds now, misappropriation. You're talking about possibly sexual assault, someone underage. Hopefully this will, really, wake up the voters out there to not just with this particular individual, but to really do research on who you're electing to office. So often, elected officials or just the voters, they're going on name recognition. You have to do your due diligence and really find out about the individual that you're going to support, whether they're Democrat or Republican. Do your homework on these candidates.
Now, moving on to the hush money trial for former President Donald Trump, he's saying that this is a politically motivated witch hunt. Jamie, your thoughts on that response from him?
I think he's right. I think you look at every case that's been brought against President Trump has been brought by far left prosecutors in overwhelmingly Democratic jurisdictions. And this case, in and of itself, it is ludicrous. What he's even being charged with here is that somehow he falsified business records to pay off this person, and the government's star witness in this is a convicted perjurer and noted liar. I don't think that this in each and every case where there's former Biden Justice Department officials working on the prosecution team, and it is being brought now, a case that was rejected by many other, even far left prosecutors, is being brought now because they're trying to take President Trump off the campaign trail. I think it's a shameful election interference. I think the president is right on that point. And we talk about justice being done. I don't know that justice can be done. The only way justice can be done in this instance is that the case is dismissed.
I want to hear your take on this, Beverly.
Oh, yes,
from the other
yes. I
side
don't know
of
how
the
much time
aisle,
we
the other
have.
side of the table.
However, I think that, and with all due respect to Jamie, I think this is just ludicrous. When you look at the allegations this former president has had upon him, notwithstanding the insurrection, January 6th, when you go ahead and look at when he's saying the election was stolen, when you look at all of the things you're saying, misappropriation of funds, I can tell you right now, if President Barack Obama was president right now, been accused of even a fourth of those things, if he had even jaywalked, they would have tried to really hung up President Obama. They tried to get anything on him. So you're telling me these charges, these allegations against former president, that's really serious. You think that this is concocted? Because if it was, they would have did it on President Barack Obama, who they gave a very hard time, not because of the things he tried to do. It was based on the color of his skin.
Your thoughts on a presidential candidate front runner? Jamie, did you have a response?
Yeah. How about Joe Biden's brother getting sent $200,000 from a shady healthcare company, and then the next day cuts a check for $200,000 to his brother, Joe Biden, as a loan repayment for something where there's no documentation of any loan ever having been done? Or Hunter Biden getting millions of dollars from Ukrainian energy company when his only discernible skill seemed to be that he was the son of Joe Biden. I haven't seen any charges brought on any of that. That was real influence peddling, and no charges have been brought. They don't even want to look into it.
I don't think we really want to get into family members. If we do, if you're going to look at the son-in-law, the current son-in-law, the daughter and the sons, I don't think we want to go there. It could be charges all across the board when you're talking about now family members. But again, now you're talking about an actual president, former president, which is not equal. It's not apple to apples when you're talking about the charges that's been brought up against Trump and anything that's been alleged against the current president. But family members, absolutely.
How does it look that someone who could quite possibly be the next president has so many scandals following him?
I hope we don't ever see that. I'm praying we don't see that. And I think that's why, even though, let's be honest, even the polling and individuals I speak to, they're not excited about either candidate. But what they said is, I'm not voting because I like a candidate. I'm voting to keep a candidate out. So I don't know whether you want to take that for what it is, but they're not excited about either. But they're voting because they don't want to be a repeat of the former president. Democracy, they're afraid of the guy. They don't trust him. And they think most Republicans don't trust him either. They think they're being held hostage by their own party. That's what they're saying.
Jamie, you feel like this is all strategy. The scandals are just strategy to make him look bad.
It is to take him off the campaign trail, because what they don't want, what the Democrats don't want, and this president don't want to talk about, is the fact that 4 years ago when Donald Trump was president, people could afford to feed their families. People could afford to put gas in their tank. People could afford to move, we're moving forward in their lives economically. And they see where we're, and they also didn't have wars popping up in every corner of the planet that are put our national security at risk. We had a secure border 4 years ago, which we certainly do not have now. That's what they don't, they want to distract you and make you look at, oh, well, he's on trial for some cockamamie payoff scheme in New York City right now. That has no impact on the everyday American's life, and people at the end of the day want to go back to a time when they were moving forward economically. And
Right.
that's going to be under Donald Trump.
And my brief response to that is, if life was so great and so wonderful under the former president, why did not the majority of Americans reelect him? Usually if something's good for us and we like how it's going, we're going to keep that person, or we're going to keep it going. The American public did not, the majority.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say to
we
that.
could be here all night discussing this, but Jamie Roe, Beverly Watts, thank you both so much for
Thanks.
being here
Thank you.
tonight.